Dave Scott Hub Media. I'm joined by Adam Walker of AdamWalkerMortgages.com. That's a mouthful sometimes to say. Um, it's been a while since I've talked to you, but I do want to talk, if you don't mind. There's a couple of things I want to talk about because you get this great client package you do for first-time home buyers. I want you to walk me through that. And off air, we were talking. I just remember the nightmares buying my first house, going back and forth to the bank. Well, you need this now, or you need that. Where's your insurance? What about this? And I'm like, you know, I'm glad you're doing this because it makes such a difference in somebody's world when you know what you need to do and how to get it done. And you can step through those hoops and get pre-approved and get things organized. So I'm going to give the floor to you. Let's talk about those first-time home buyers today, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's first time homebuyer season. We're into the spring market. The weather's 14 degrees out today. It's a beautiful day. So home buying season's here. So you talk about there's so many decisions to be made when it comes to the first time home buyer today, right? And one of the things I've learned is, even my kids, decisions are hard to make if you don't know exactly where you're going and what. So what we've done for our first time home buyers is we've created a roadmap. Right. So from start to finish of what we're going to do. So number one thing, we've got a first time home buyers masterclass that we've created. It's $29.99. You can get the link on my website. There is a promo code client. You can give that to all the listeners. Use promo code client. You can get that absolutely free. But what we've done is we've created that roadmap. And it's going to walk you through collecting your documents. So like I said, the worst thing is and sometimes when you go into the bank or you work with somebody and they don't know really what they're doing, day one, we're going to give you a list of every document you need for the pre-approval and every document you need once we submit that offer, because sometimes they're a little bit different. So to get your pre-approval, we get those initial set of income documents. We understand what your down payment is, where it's coming from, understand where your income's coming from. But there's sometimes different documents you don't have right away. A letter of employment from your employer. Sometimes, that HR department, especially if you work for the county or you work for a municipality, they might take weeks to come in. Whereas if you work with Toyo Tetsu, you can get that same day. So we give you that list of everything that you're going to need. Then we're going to set you up with not just, if you're already working with a realtor, we've got a team of great realtors on staff that we work with, that we can give you those right out to our realtors who are going to walk you through and give you the best options for purchasing that property. It doesn't end there, though. We also have home inspectors. We've got a great home inspector that we work with. We're actually launching a new podcast next month where we interview our local, that home inspector. We've got a home insurance guy, somebody that's, local. We've got life insurance. So somebody that's going to talk to you about your life insurance options. And we do have these, right? So we have these with the bank. Like, I have a central desk that you can call into. It's called, where you call into a 1-800 number in Toronto and they'll give you the best home insurance quote. Well, that might be great to get the cheapest home insurance quote from somebody in Toronto today. But that guy in Toronto doesn't know that a lot of basements in Norfolk County over the next 6 weeks are going to be full of water. Right. And does he have that coverage in that policy to make sure it does? Well, the local guy does. And getting the cheapest policy may not be the best option, but getting the best policy is. Right. We have lenders, if you're buying that older house, we have lenders that have home warranty programs that are going to cover the furnace. They're going to cover some of the plumbing. They're going to cover a lot of those different programs, and they're free for the first year or for the first set defined period of time. That lets you get into that house and kind of dig out. Maybe you just bought the house, you put a big down payment in. You don't have money to fix the furnace tomorrow. So we work with some lenders that really, really gear towards those first-time home buyers. So we're not just taking care of you when we get that approval. We're going to make sure that after you get that approval, you're taken care of with protection, home protection, life protection, disability protection, the home warranty program. We really wrap our arms around you to make sure that you're taken care of, because we want it to be a really, really enjoyable experience for you when you buy that first home.
Couple things. I remember going out, whenever I go out, it's the house I see. I'm like, oh, I'd like to figure, before you even do the background work, you're like, oh, I like that house. Then you're off in that direction because and maybe it's out of your price range, maybe it isn't, but it's always that way, isn't it? I always find that people go out and look at the house first, and then they come see you and say, okay, what do I need? And then you sort of work backwards a bit, I guess, on that, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things we really like to do is before you go look at any property is give us a call, and we run a custom budget for every single property. And some things that you don't realize is you may qualify for, 123 Main Street, but you don't qualify for 125 Main Street, even though they're listed at the same price, because the property taxes are different. Right. And you never really understand that. And maybe not both houses on Main Street. That's a bad example. But, if you think in Simcoe, maybe you the property taxes on Donley Drive might be different than the property taxes on Jaeger Drive, right?
Right.
What are the house might be listed for the same price, but those property taxes could be significantly different, right? So we want to make sure that we're looking at every property and what is unique about that property. Sometimes is that property taxes. And I don't want to send you to go look at that property. You fall in love with it. You love everything about it, but the property taxes are too high and you don't qualify for it. So we create a custom budget. Every single time you go look at a property, you have a custom budget that says, yes, you can qualify for this house. Here's what here's what your closing costs are going to be. So we're not just going to say, here's your closing costs, maybe 1%, maybe 2%, somewhere around there. We're going to give you to the penny. What is those closing costs? What are your lawyer's fees going to look like? What are your land transfer taxes going to look like? What does all that look like when we factor in your monthly budget with the property taxes? If it's a condo, maybe there's condo fees in there. What's all that going to look like, and make sure that you can afford that. And if it's not within your qualification budget, but your own personal budget of what you want to pay.
It's been a long time since I've been a first-time homeowner. I don't even have a clue what they need to put down now. What's all that like? What are they facing?
Yeah, so it's actually one of the biggest myths sometimes we hear from first-time home buyers, and a lot of it comes from our parents, right? Like when I bought my first home, my parents said, make sure you put 25% down. You got to have 25% down because then you avoid CMHC fees. Well, the rule actually was only 20% at the time. They didn't even know because, they're older.
Yeah.
The benefit now, and back then to avoid CMHC fees, there was really no benefit if you put less down other than you paid those. Now sometimes you can get a lower rate because you're getting an insured mortgage. And the biggest thing is if I have a property today and I'm going to buy and I've got 5% down and I decide that I'm going to wait and save 20 till I get to 20% down. One, with rent prices now, it's hard to save an extra 15% for that down payment.
Yeah.
And two, if it takes you 3 years or 4 years to save that down payment to get to 5 to 10%, well, by the time that housing value goes up, you've lost, right? That you're buying the exact same house, right? You just have 20% down on it now, and you've missed all of that equity that it can appreciate. And I guarantee you, the housing market is going to go up faster than any GIC or mutual fund's going to go up.
For sure it is. And so when you take that into consideration, what is there a basis? Like, is it 10%? Like, what is the down payment?
5%. If you can get a house,
5%.
you can buy that house with as little as 5% down. Now, like I said, you do pay a CMHC premium on top of that, but you get a discount on your rate when it comes back. And the biggest thing, it might have a little bit higher cost of borrowing, but the equity that you can gain by getting into the housing market at 5% down, most of the time is going to have significant benefits to it. Now, if you have 20% down, use it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you don't wait and save that money because you're going to miss out on growth in the market and you're not going to be able to take advantage of that equity that you can gain.
What other misnomers is there? Because like you said, I would have, when we were talking and, what do they have to put down now? That's just one for an example. So give me something else that's in your client care package that sort of helps folks realize the reality of home buying.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is how you can do it. One of the other ones is gifted down payment. We're talking a lot of that is 1 in 3 clients now are using a gifted down payment to buy that first home, right? So, and that's in different forms of gifts. So sometimes the parents have that money sitting in a bank account and it was going to be their inheritance anyways, or grandparents sometimes it was going to be their inheritance anyways, and they're giving that as a gift. Let's let you, then the parents can see the kids, benefit from some of these funds. The other thing we're seeing a lot of right now is reverse mortgages. So where the parents or the grandparents have a house that's free and clear, and they're taking out a reverse mortgage at a very small percentage of the house, taking that reverse mortgage out, giving that to the kids. It doesn't cost anything. There's no cost. You don't have to take money out of your investments. You don't have to pay, there's no extra fees. You don't have a monthly payment to make back on that down payment. But we're giving that reverse mortgage to the kids to help buy that home. And it's one of the things I think a lot of kids come in and they're worried about, I got to have a gift for a down payment. Is that embarrassing? Here's 1 in 3 right now we're probably seeing are using a gifted down payment as first-time home buyers to get into that housing market.
Plus, it's just a benefit to them because, like you said, the cost of rent these days,
it's insane. It's incredible.
Get a house. Start building that equity up.
Yeah, and sometimes when they do that gift, some parents decide, hey, I want to go in the house too, right? I want to, let's own this together. And then, as the house matures in equity, they kind of share some of that equity together. Some it's just a gift to the kids, and both ways work, right? Sometimes, at least worst case scenario, if you want, not worst case scenario, but if you want to have the shared equity together, you want to buy the house together, at least your family is benefiting from it. It's not a landlord that's making that money and somebody outside of your family making all that money. You're paying their mortgage off instead. At least this is equity that's going to be gained by you and your family.
With spring here now, are you guys finding it busier? Does it pick up? I mean, traditionally it does. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, we're really starting, rates have kind of been dropping steadily since November. We're seeing that 5-year bond yield come down over and over, more and more on a weekly basis. Not, it's the old saying, they take the elevator up when rates go up, the banks follow, they take the elevator up and they take the stairs back down. So they're coming down a little bit slowly, but as these rates continue to come down, we're seeing more and more buyers out there, right? And I think the conversation has gone away. Even last year, people were saying, the 2% rate, the 3% rate. I think people are kind of over that, right? So we're seeing less and less conversations about that, and people are just ready to buy, right? They've been pent up, maybe even since COVID, they've been ready to move into a different home, but they wanted to wait for rates to come down. I think we're seeing a lot of action in the market right now. There's more and more inventory coming out every single week, and I think we're really in for a really, really busy spring.
Has the price of the inventory dropped a little bit as far as what homes are worth?
No, we're not seeing drops yet. And truthfully, I think we're going to see, as history has shown us, as rates continue to come down and more buyers are out there, prices are going to go up. We're seeing more and more multiple offer situations. Almost every weekend, there's at least one of my clients going into a property that's going into multiple offers. So we're seeing more and more of that. Right now, we're still at 2 or 3 offers. But I think as we head towards the spring and we get more and more pre-approved clients out there, those 2 and 3 are probably going to turn into 10 and 12.
And the Bank of Canada held the rate steady again.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, to be honest with you, I thought maybe it would come down in March, but it looks like maybe June or July they're talking now. But I think that I got to go with you. I agree 100%. I think if you see even a slight drop, you're going to see a little bit, the market's going to open up again, don't you think?
History has shown us that, right? Every time rates come down, prices go up. So we're really in that sweet spot. And I don't know, I think, I think I said on maybe our January podcast, or might have even been the February one, that we're probably looking between March, now in March break. And I think we're really at the end of it right now of that sweet spot to buy a home. And we might have an extra couple weeks extended here. A little bit of cold weather last week might have helped it out a little bit. But I really do think that housing prices are on the way up because rates have been on the way down.
Yeah. How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, AdamWalkerMortgages.com. You can follow me, Walker Mortgages, on Instagram, Facebook. You'll have my cell phone in the show notes here. Go ahead and text me any way you can. I'm available. Reach out. We'd love to chat.
Is it I think that's the last point, and I always bring this up. It's free to chat with you.
Absolutely. No cost at all. No cost at all. We can run your numbers. We can look at it. We can build a plan, right? And sometimes when we build that plan, we're ready to buy 3 months down the road. Sometimes we've got to wait a year, right? There's different options, and we build a little bit more of a long-term strategy. But I can't tell you, and this has been in my 17 years in banking, people that wait on the sidelines so often, they sit around, they're like, I just don't want to ask the questions. I don't want to find out. They come in, they talk with me, they've talked with my team and said, hey, I want to get pre-approved. I'm looking to buy a year down the road. We do that pre-approval for them. We show them, here's how you can buy your home. And so many times they come back to us after that weekend and say, hey, bought a house this weekend, right? it happens all the time. And if you're in that situation where you just don't know if you can be pre-approved, pick up the phone. Let's chat. You can book directly on my calendar. Let's see if you're ready to buy that home. And if you are, take advantage of the housing market right now.
How long can you hold a pre-approved rate?
A pre-approved rate we can hold for 90 days, 120 days, depending on the lender.
There you go.
Yep, 90 to 120 days. Yep.
All right. That's all the information, folks. If you're a first-time home buyer, wow, I'm struggling today. Give Adam a shout.
Tough word.
And yeah, I know. And let him help you out. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me on, Dave.